that your feet had been bound by what gravity brings to the ground? Did you feel you were tricked by the future you picked? Well, come on down. We're coming down to the ground. There's no better place to go. We got snow upon the mountains, we got rivers down below. We're coming down to the ground.
A great day for Rocinante and a great day for our community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful students.
Welcome all guests. Thank you Kate Center students and Miss Wilson. Thank you for coming and being a part of the student movement to help save our environment. Today we are going to show a couple presentations on recycling. Now let's watch a short video made by our students, Hector Estrada III, Angel Navarez, and Joe Castillo.
No! Recycle!
Damn, okay.
And go green, my dude. It's that easy.
I guess so.
Would like to present a short skit illustrating environment awareness. This will be recorded and available on RHS webpage for the entire district to review and use to teach others about recycling.
Alright, throwing away my trash. La da 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 da.
Hey!
Whoa! Talking paper, that's unusual.
Why not recycle this?
Why though?
Did you know Americans stole away enough office paper each year to build a 12-foot high wall from Seattle to New York?
No.
A new wall every year.
You should get that idea from Trump.
Do you care?
Not really, no, honestly.
Hey guys, come up here.
Recycling cardboard only takes 75% of energy needed to make new cardboard. Recycling 1 ton of cardboard saves 46 gallons of oil. Do you care now?
No. Sorry.
Well, did you know the most valuable material in recycling is aluminum? Most of recycling is all materials. Discover aluminum is more valuable than other items in the recycling bin. How about this? Aluminum cans lost in landfills are worth up to billions of dollars every year. Do you care now?
I care about money, so yeah, why not? Alright. I'm gonna put you guys now.
Research about the environment and have some questions and concerns they would like to express. First, we're going to start off with Antonio Graham.
Anyways, like, my kind of like starting into my question, like, you guys know like the cost of recycling bins versus the trash dumpsters around? Well,
I'm Dan. We can do some evaluation. I will note that the recycling bins that are on the campus are basically free. They're not totally free, but we're absorbing some of the costs. The cities, it's a great partnership between Waste Management, the city, and the schools. And so I think the effort is to try to make this as lucrative for all of us in terms of diversion. And diversion is how much of the trash stream that we can divert from the landfills into the recycling. So we're trying to make that as easy as we possibly can. And I think this is a great start, by the way, because this is, how do you get people to use it? And we talked about having the blue containers around and how they end up with trash. And that's called contamination when we're talking about recycling. Contamination is huge. And let me just give you an example, not to be too long-winded, but in Rio Rancho, Bernalillo County, Albuquerque, so the whole metro area down there, 22% of the recycling material that goes to what we call the MRF, which is a material recovery facility. That's a facility that sorts all this stuff and puts the plastic where the plastic goes and ships it, and puts the cardboard where the cardboard goes and ships it. So it separates all this stuff out. 22% of the stuff that we take in there ends up going to the trash, okay, because of contamination. And so there's two things that we need to discuss when we're talking about recycling. First of all, what is recyclable, okay? And then how do you keep the trash out of that stream to clean up the recycling stream? Because therein lies the cost. We're paying $49 for every ton of recycling materials that we take to the material recovery facility. $49 a ton to take recycling there. That's a tip fee. Okay? And the reason is because of this high percentage of contamination. So there's really two things: what to recycle and how to keep the stream clean. So, but we're trying to do our part for waste management. I know the city of Farmington is as well. It's a great partnership with the schools. There's no money involved in terms of the cost of containers because that's all being absorbed through the contract. Make sense?
Any time at your residence, you want a recycling container, just call us. Hey, I want to sign up for recycle. It's it.
Everybody pays for those cans. Not everybody uses them. Participation rate is probably 56% here.
Oh. The other thing to consider too is, I know that probably a lot of you have thought about this. When we have a landfill, we have a lifespan on that landfill. Eventually it's going to be filled up. One of the things that's really cool about recycling is the more we recycle, the less we put into our landfill, the longer it lasts. So that's something really big to think about when it comes to recycling. So the more we do that, the better it's going to be for everybody. Not just everybody in this room, but our whole community, our whole environment,
and the future generation.
I know it's hard to think about right now, because when I was, it was a long time ago. When I was I never thought that recycling was a big deal, right? But I can tell you now that I have kids, grandkids now, and I'm concerned about their future. It's really important to keep that aspect going through this recycling. It's just like, you're doing everybody a favor.
Thank you. Next up, we have Kaylina Sharp.
Hi, my name is Kaylina Sharp. What groups or businesses can we include to help us recycle and how can we use it?
I look in terms of, especially with recycling, for the sustainability factor. And the way we view everything is, we've got 20 buildings that we have to, that we get to think about. So it's not just the recycling at Rocinante, it's all of them, which makes it a little bit bigger. So we talk to Waste Management and figure out on these bins, but now they're using all of their gas and everything. And they're picking up recycling at no cost to the district, which is amazing for them. So then we look at what do we need, and you can get occasionally different monies from different businesses, but I want to find out, so say we have $1,000, well, what's that going to go for? We need to know kind of what the long term, and then we can go attack businesses, but I think any business would listen to you all better than they listen to me. And there are some newer organizations into the San Juan Basin that haven't been here, and they do like to sponsor students. So I hope that answers that. But any business and whatever, but we need to come up with a solid. What are we going to do with $2,000 or $150?
I know we engage in all kinds of different projects, and usually it's based on someone coming to us and doing a presentation, saying, here's an idea, here's a problem, here's a concern, how do we address this, and can you guys help? You've got Civic Hands, you've got Lions, you've got Moose Club, or the Elks Club, I'm sorry, Elks. And so you got a lot of opportunities where you can actually go out and do presentations if that's something, and we'd love to see that. In fact, we'll partner with you.
Hello everyone, my name is Sean Joe, and my question for you guys is, what can Farmington, as a community, do to reduce and reuse?
Well, I can probably start off and maybe help answer that question. I think it's a media thing. More of this, presentations out in the community, those kinds of things, I think kind of anything we can do to increase the awareness. Social media is a great place. Awesome place.
More specifically, what can the school district do to reduce the amount of solid waste?
The awareness just isn't there. If there's this many kids who are passionate about recycling, let's go send this message to all the schools. That would be the best way, because people would go then to their homes and find out, hey, we could recycle at home also. And that's the best way.
First started with waste management, I was like the general public. Everything went in the trash, right? No recycle. I recycled my aluminum cans because I knew we got money for it. I like this kid. The kids put on here, right? That was it. Fortunately, my wife was big into recycling. We got to the point where us at home right now, we have 2 containers full of recycle and 1 trash. So we're recycling twice as much trash as we put out. And I can honestly tell you, we put out a small bag of trash. Definitely raising the awareness, because I can tell you, me personally, I didn't know just how much stuff could be recycled. I think awareness and raising the education level of the student body and our community, I think will help raise that awareness and make it a successful program.
We've actually put a curriculum together. It's called RORR, which is Recycle Often, Recycle Right. It's a curriculum that we use for K through 5. What we're trying to do is teach the kids so that they can go home and talk to the parents about it. The parents can make their own, reasonable evaluation as to whether to recycle or not, and hopefully eventually increase that participation at that level. And then those kids will grow up being recyclers, and you can see how that will work. And so we've got that curriculum. We've given it to superintendent. I believe we also left one here for you. And I'm thinking that maybe is something that you guys can do an evaluation on. Pull that thing apart, look at it, and say, hey, where would this fit? So anyway, it's just an idea. I've got a note here that says, will you please expound on what you mean by contaminants? The things that you really want to keep out are contaminants. That's any kind of food product, like pizza, you know, it's made of cardboard, you think, well, it's recyclable. Well, if it's contaminated with food, it's not only contaminated, but it can contaminate some of the other good recycling materials that are actually in the box. So food waste, plastic, I can tell you this, when we drop our stuff at the MRF, all that stuff is taken by a bucket loader and put onto a conveyor belt. The conveyor belt goes up and we have people by hand that are pulling contaminated stuff off, things that are trash, that are not recycling, and they're actually doing this stuff by hand. Now let me tell you, when you may have a plastic bag, like a garbage bag, full of good recyclable material, but when it gets to that conveyor belt and those guys are out there pulling things out, if it's plastic, it goes out. It doesn't matter what's inside it. They don't open up the bags, they just throw it out. And that goes to the landfill even though it was filled with good recycling material. So the point is, no plastics. Plastics are plastic as in terms of plastic bags, plastic film, you know, the bubble wrap, all of those kinds of things. You know, styrofoam is something else. We can recycle styrofoam, but you can't recycle it in the single stream recycling. And also anything that's moisture. If you have a piece of cardboard that it has been wet, the fibers are gone. Their reuse is nil. That goes to the dump. Okay? So keep moisture out of it, keep plastic out of it, keep food contaminants. Those are the three main contaminants. So hopefully, let's talk about that for a second if you don't mind. The reason that you do a single stream recycle is because it's easy. And we're Americans. Most of the time we're fat, dumb, and happy. And so the easier things are, the higher the participation rate. And so that's why we've gone from separated recycling, putting your plastics in one place and your cardboard in another place and mixed paper in another place and so on, into a single stream. Because if you had to separate all that stuff out, your participation rate would be low. So that's why we've gone to a single stream recycling. So,
thank you. Next up we have Mackenzie Brummett.
My question to you all is, why do the schools pay recycling bins, but they do not use them? That is my question.
As far as why do schools pay for recycling and do not use them? This is a stepping stone. Waste management has gone well over and beyond of helping us get that stepping stone. Now we're going to build on it. First of all, I want to commend and thank all of you for wanting to learn more about recycling. We had the meeting, Dave and I and Janie from Waste Management. She said, but we can have other items in that bin. Well, that opened a whole new light for me and a whole new avenue to get this to every school. We've taken a step further as a district and put the containers in all the schools so we can get from point A to point B. What you have done today has opened a whole new door for not only you here at school, but you here at home. You will now go home and start to think, well, it's not just cardboard that we can recycle. It's a whole new level of experience and knowledge. At Planox, what I get calls on are our recycle bins overflowing. We have a mattress. So when I get phone calls that need to be addressed, I call Waste Management right away and say, can you help me? They have been more than helpful, helping getting this recycle on track. Dave has been a huge help. Now to have all of your help is like it's more power, it's more knowledge, it's more education. This is incredible. We put the bins in there, and as you said earlier, Dan, we find that even in those containers inside the school, there's milk cartons, there's things that are contaminant. So putting those things in there is not following through with the recycling plan, with what needs to be done.
Messaging is the broad answer. You know, if you get into changing cultures, it gets a little more challenging. So you get people who've done a certain way, they've cleaned, or they've whatever it is, they've done it a certain way for several years, and it's hard to come in and just say this is what needs to be, because a lot of people don't think bigger picture as often.
Having that knowledge but changing the behavior, and that's been a huge accomplishment, getting the knowledge out there, but the behavioral change is what's going to be more productive to get us to use them.
Configuration itself, the best configuration that you can have is to have the trash and the recycling next to one. Apple, if you want to keep that apple out of there, the best configuration is to put trash and recycling together. There are some times when you only want cardboard containers, okay? In your retail stores, that's a good place for cardboard-only containers. What we're talking about here at the schools, this should never say, in my opinion, these guys are the operational guys, this is my opinion, they should never say cardboard only. It should be, mixed recycling, it should be single stream. So basically what would happen is you would have the containers placed around your campuses, and the custodians, when they dump the trash, they also dump the recycling. Recycling goes in one container, trash goes in another container. Right? Make it as easy for the students as possible.
Larger high schools or larger facilities to have a cardboard only container as well as single stream containers. That way you could get that higher commodity price. Would that help waste management?
Well, as long as it's a clean stream, it doesn't matter. It can go in the single stream.
And our trays and our silverware are not recyclable materials. And those are the biggest part of what we need to recycle. I wanted to ask you guys what can we do to maybe change that.
Like Dan said, it gets pretty tricky because you've got contaminants based on what you've just eaten. So the best way, and most, I think all of the other,
you'd have three bins. You'd have a recycling bin, you'd have a trash bin, and then you'd have a composting bin. And all the compostable materials would go into there. And so I would challenge the kids that are sitting here, if you guys want to do some research on composting, as far as the licensing and stuff like that, get with me, I'll walk you through it.
And I travel the world, and I see trash all over the roads, and they didn't really care about recycling at all, or trying to save the earth. And my question is, why is that?
This is a great, I won't say start because it's already started, right? I mean, if you have a 56% participation rate in the city of Farmington, it started, right? Now, how do you go after that, the other 44%, right? How do you get that complete participation?
I think to follow up on that, all you students that are here, you have a lot more influence than you think you do. One of the things, I'll just make a small analogy on this. When you're out and about and all of a sudden mom or dad say, hey, let's stop to grab a hamburger somewhere. Who's the one, or where do you end up going usually when that happens? Is it where mom and dad want to go, or is it where you want to go? Exactly. So there's a lot of influence in this room, a lot more than you all think. Use that to your advantage, educate. That's the one thing I can't preach enough is the education, because I was the one that was not educated on recycling. Once I got educated on it, you know what? It's a great thing for everybody.
My question to you guys, actually to everyone, is what actions can we take for the betterment of our earth?
it's as simple as turning the lights out when you leave food. It's as simple as being aware for your neighbor. It's as simple as doing those things that, just those small things that are important to you. What have we learned today?
Can I ask one question? I'd like for everyone to raise their hand in here who has a sibling at home. A sibling.
Little brother, little sister.
One or two siblings at home. It's behavioral change. I changed my behavior at home. I have 2 cans. But take it, they're side by side. Throw it in there and I come back there. Why did I put that in there? So I can be aware of it, But following through, that behavioral change is so important. Now we have this information at every location, not only on the containers inside the school, but they know that this goes into that 3-yard, not into the trash. But again, we're finding apples and other things in those containers that say recycle. It's behavioral change. It keeps going back to that. So if we can work on behavioral change, we have the knowledge, so now we have to do it. Now we want to do it. You want to do it. And that's what's encouraging and motivating. But it takes a behavioral change to make that difference.
We're coming down. There's no